The pain started at 3 in the morning, sharp, stabbing, radiating from my lower right abdomen. I tried to sleep through it, thinking it was just cramps or something I ate. By 6, I was curled up on the bathroom floor, vomiting and unable to stand. Mom found me there at 7. She had a hair appointment at 9 and needed to get ready for her best friend Karen's wedding at 2. The dress hung on her closet door, cream-colored silk with beading she'd spent months talking about. "What's wrong?" she asked, standing in the doorway in her bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. "My stomach. Something's really wrong. It hurts so bad I can't move." "Did you eat something weird?" "No, Mom. I think I need to go to the hospital." Her expression shifted. Annoyance, that look I knew too well. "Today? You're feeling sick today?" "I can't help when it hurts. Please, something's really wrong." She sighed and set down her coffee. "Let me call Karen and tell her I'll be a bit late." "Late?" "Mom, I need to go now. I have a hair appointment in 2 hours. The wedding is at 2. I'm a bridesmaid, Emma. I can't miss this wedding." "I'm not asking you to miss it. Just take me to the hospital." She called Karen while I lay on the bathroom floor. I could hear her through the door. "Emma's having some stomach issues. I might need to push back getting ready." No, I'll definitely be there. I'm not missing your wedding. I just need to take her to urgent care real quick." Urgent care, not the emergency room. Urgent care, like this was a cold or a sprained ankle. She drove me to the urgent care clinic near our house. By then, the pain was so intense I was crying. The doctor, a young woman named Dr. Martinez, pressed on my abdomen. I screamed. "How long has the pain been this severe?" "Since about 6 this morning. And it's localized here, lower right quadrant." "Yes." She looked at Mom. "I think this is appendicitis. She needs to go to the emergency room immediately for imaging and likely surgery." Mom's face went pale. "Surgery? Today? Appendicitis is an emergency. If it ruptures, it can be life-threatening. She needs to be seen now." "But I have a wedding. I'm a bridesmaid. It's my best friend's wedding." Dr. Martinez stared at her. "Your daughter needs emergency surgery. Can't it wait until tomorrow? The wedding is at 2. I could take her after." "No, it cannot wait. If her appendix ruptures, she could develop sepsis. She could die. She needs to go to the emergency room right now." Mom looked at me on the exam table, then at her watch. "Emma, I've been planning for this wedding for 8 months. Karen is my best friend. I'm a bridesmaid. Do you know how important this is?" "Mom, I'm in pain. I need surgery. This wedding is too important." Her voice rose, frustration bleeding through. "I can't miss this. Karen will never forgive me. Everyone will be asking where I am. I bought a dress. I spent $200 on a dress for this wedding." Dr. Martinez interrupted. "Ma'am, your daughter is 19 years old. She can consent to her own medical care. But she needs someone with her. She needs support. Can't someone else take her?" "What about your father?" "Dad was on a business trip in Seattle. He wouldn't be back until Sunday. There's no one else." Mom stood there, torn between her daughter in pain and a wedding that would last 4 hours. I watched her face cycle through emotions, guilt, anger, resentment, desperation. "I'll call Karen," she finally said. "I'll explain. She'll understand." But when she stepped out to make the call, I heard the conversation through the thin walls. Karen's voice, even muffled, sounded upset. Mom's voice got higher, more pleading. Then silence. Mom came back in. "Karen says if I miss her wedding, our friendship is over. She said she's been planning this for a year and everyone has their role. And if I don't show up, I'm not the person she thought I was." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I'll take you to the emergency room and get you admitted. But then I have to leave. I have to get ready. The wedding is at 2, and it's already 9:30. I need to do my hair and makeup, and I have to be there early for photos." Something in me cracked. "You're going to drop me off at the hospital and leave me there alone for surgery. You're 19. You're an adult. Plenty of people go through surgery alone. I'm your daughter. And Karen is my best friend of 15 years. Do you know what it would do to our friendship if I missed her wedding? Do you know how much this means to her?" Dr. Martinez interrupted again. "I need to send her to the ER now. Every minute we delay increases the risk of rupture." Mom drove me to Valley Memorial Hospital. She checked me in at the emergency desk and waited while they took me back for a CT scan. The scan confirmed acute appendicitis. Surgery was scheduled for 1 o'clock. It was 11:15. The wedding started at 2. Mom stood by my bed in the pre-op area. I was in a hospital gown, IV in my arm, trying not to cry. The surgeon had explained the procedure: general anesthesia, laparoscopic removal, 2 to 3 hours in surgery, recovery overnight. I have to go, Mom said. I have to get ready. You'll be fine. The nurses are here. The doctors know what to do. I'll come back after the reception. Mom, please. Please don't leave. Emma, stop being so dramatic. People have surgery every day. You'll be asleep through the whole thing. You won't even know I'm gone. I'll know when I wake up alone. You're 19 years old. You need to grow up. The world doesn't stop because you're having a medical procedure. I have obligations. Karen is counting on me. The wedding party will be incomplete without me. The photos will be ruined. I can't do that to her. She left at 11:30. I watched her walk out of the pre-op area in her regular clothes, heading home to put on her bridesmaid dress and drive to a wedding, while I went into surgery alone. The nurses were kind. They saw I was alone, and one of them, a woman named Angela, held my hand while they wheeled me to the OR. The anesthesiologist spoke gently, explaining what would happen. The surgeon squeezed my shoulder and promised I'd be fine. But none of them were my mother. I woke up at 4 in the afternoon in the recovery area, groggy, nauseous, my abdomen aching from the incisions. A nurse was checking my vitals. How are you feeling? Tired. It hurts. That's normal. We'll give you pain medication. Is your mom here yet? No, she went to a wedding. The nurse's expression flickered. Surprise, judgment, pity. Well, someone should be here with you. Do you have anyone you can call? I called my roommate, Jessica. She came within an hour, brought me clean clothes, and sat with me while I cried. Not from the pain of the surgery, but from the absence of the person who should have been there. Mom showed up at 8 that evening, still in her bridesmaid dress. She smelled like champagne and perfume. How did it go? They removed my appendix. It was about to rupture. The surgeon said if I'd waited another few hours, it would have been much worse. Well, good thing we got you here when we did. She sat down in the chair by my bed. The wedding was beautiful. Karen looked stunning. The venue was incredible. You should have seen the flowers. I stared at her. I had emergency surgery. And you're fine now. Everything worked out. Karen was so happy I was there. She said it wouldn't have been the same without me. She cried when she saw me because she was worried I wouldn't come. I cried because you left me. Oh, Emma, don't be dramatic. You're fine. You came through surgery perfectly. And I was there for Karen on the most important day of her life. Everyone wins. Except I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I felt like I'd learned exactly where I stood in my mother's priorities. Below a friendship, below a party, below someone else's special day. That was 8 years ago. 8 years of building a life where I didn't depend on Mom for anything important. I graduated college, got a job in marketing at a pharmaceutical company, worked my way up and changed companies twice, each time for better positions. At 27, I was hired as marketing director at Biotech Solutions, a mid-sized company developing medical devices. I managed a team of 12, reported directly to the VP, and made decisions about campaigns and hiring. Mom and I maintained a surface relationship, birthday phone calls, Christmas dinners. She talked about Karen constantly. Karen's new house. Karen's promotion. Karen's kids. Karen this, Karen that. The friendship that had been worth more than my surgery. Mom worked for Karen's company, half for 15 years. Karen had started a consulting firm right after her wedding and hired Mom as her office manager. Mom was proud of working for her best friend, proud of being part of Karen's success story. Then last month, Mom called crying. Karen fired me. What? She fired me. After 15 years, she said the company's restructuring and my position is being eliminated. That's terrible. I'm so sorry. I don't understand. We're best friends. I was at her wedding. I helped her build this company. I've been loyal to her for 15 years, and she just let me go. Gave me 2 weeks severance and told me to clear out my desk. The irony wasn't lost on me. The friend Mom had chosen over my emergency surgery had discarded her without hesitation. What are you going to do? I don't know. I've been applying to jobs, but no one wants to hire a 52-year-old office manager. Everyone wants people who know the new software, who can do social media. I don't know how to do any of that. She sounded desperate, lost. For a moment, I felt sympathy. Then she said, "Do you think your company is hiring? Could you put in a word for me?" You want to work at my company? I need a job, Emma. I have a mortgage. I have bills. I've been looking for a month and no one's calling me back. You're a director. You must have influence. Could you help me? I thought about being 19, lying on a gurney, begging her not to leave. I thought about waking up alone after surgery. I thought about her coming in smelling like champagne, talking about how beautiful the wedding was. Let me think about it. 2 weeks passed. Mom called daily. Her savings were running low. She'd had to borrow money from Dad to make her mortgage payment. She was getting desperate. Then yesterday she showed up at my office. I was in a meeting when my assistant knocked. Your mother is here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. I wrapped up the meeting and went to the lobby. Mom was there, dressed in an interview suit that was slightly too big. She'd lost weight from stress. Her eyes were red. Emma, please, I need to talk to you. I brought her back to my office and closed the door. She started crying before she even sat down. I can't find a job. I've applied to 50 places. No one will hire me. I'm too old, too inexperienced with new technology. I'm going to lose my house. Please, Emma, please help me. You're a director here. You hire people. There must be something. Reception, data entry, anything. I'll take anything. I looked at her across my desk. This woman who had left me alone for emergency surgery because a wedding was more important. This woman who had chosen her best friend over her daughter in pain. You're asking me to help you after Karen threw you away. Don't say it like that. That's what happened. You sacrificed me for her. And she discarded you anyway. I made a mistake, okay? I should have stayed with you that day. But I was trying to be a good friend to Karen. I thought friendship meant showing up no matter what. And being a mother means what? She flinched. I know I hurt you. I've regretted it. But that was 8 years ago. Are you really going to hold that against me forever? You told me to grow up, that the world doesn't stop for a medical procedure, that you've had obligations. Emma, please, I'm begging you. I need this job. I need help. I'm your mother. I thought about Angela, the nurse who held my hand before surgery. About Jessica, my roommate who came when I called. About all the people who had shown up for me when my own mother wouldn't. We have an opening in administrative support. It's entry level, filing, data entry, scheduling. It pays $38,000 a year. You'd be reporting to the office manager who reports to someone who reports to me. I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you so much. But you need to understand something. I'm recommending you for this position as a candidate, not as my mother. You'll go through the normal interview process. You'll be evaluated on your qualifications. And if you get hired, you'll be treated like any other employee. No special treatment. No exceptions. Of course, I understand. And if you ever bring up our personal relationship at work or try to use me for advancement, you'll be fired immediately. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Thank you, Emma. You don't know what this means. I do know. It means you're in the position I was in 8 years ago, desperate and needing support from someone who could choose to leave. She looked at me, understanding finally dawning. I'm not leaving, I said. I'm going to help you because that's what family should do. But don't mistake this for forgiveness. Don't mistake professional courtesy for repairing what you broke. This is me being the person you couldn't be. I forwarded her information to HR. She had an interview next week. As she left my office, still crying, but with relief instead of desperation, I thought about Karen, the best friend who had been so important. The woman who had been worth more than a daughter's surgery. The friend who had fired Mom without hesitation after 15 years. Mom had learned the hard way what relationships actually mattered, what loyalty actually meant, which people showed up when things got hard. I just hoped the lesson hadn't come too late. Hi, I'm Patricia, a 28-year-old marketing exec, and I've got a story that might hit close to home for some of you. It all started on a sunny Saturday at the annual William Advertising Company picnic. You'd think it'd be a time to unwind, right? Wrong. There I was, watching my dad, David William, the big shot CEO, fawning over John, the company's shiny new hire. John, my boy, that presentation you gave last week was outstanding. You've got a real future here, Dad boomed, clapping John on the back. I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly saw my brain. John had been here for 5 minutes? Meanwhile, I just secured the Pearson account, a major win, but apparently that wasn't worth a mention. Thanks, Mr. William, John said, soaking up the praise like a sponge. I clenched my teeth, vowing to prove my worth. Little did I know, This moment was just the beginning of something much bigger, something that would change everything. For now, though, I had a picnic to survive and a father to impress. Wish me luck. Something told me I'd need it. After that disaster of a picnic, I threw myself into work like never before. I landed a massive project, rebranding for a major tech company. If this didn't impress Dad, nothing would. I was knee-deep in spreadsheets when my assistant Tom knocked on my office door. "Hey, Patricia. Got those reports you asked for. John's team just sent them over." "Thanks, Tom. I'll take a look." As I flipped through the reports, something felt off. The projections looked too good to be true. Pulling up old data for comparison, I froze. No, this couldn't be right. I dug deeper, cross-referencing everything. It wasn't just one report. It was a trail of falsified data and plagiarized ideas. John had been conning everyone. Fuming, I marched toward my dad's office only to pause when I heard voices. The door was slightly ajar, and curiosity got the better of me. "David, we need to talk about John," Linda, Dad's longtime colleague and John's mother, said, her tone tense. "What about him? He's doing great work," Dad replied. "That's not what I mean. He's asking questions about his father." A long pause followed, and my stomach dropped. "No way," Dad muttered. "David, we agreed never to tell him," Linda said. "I know, but he's not stupid. He's noticing how you treat him compared to Patricia. People are talking." My head spun. John, my half-brother. It explained so much, but God, it hurt. "We can't let this get out," Dad said. "Think of the scandal. Think of Elena." That was it. I stumbled back to my office, struggling to process everything. My whole life felt like a lie. I needed answers. Grabbing my phone, I called my mom. "Hey, sweetie. Everything okay?" "Mom, I need to see you. Can you come over?" An hour later, we sat in my living room. Mom's face was etched with worry. "Patricia, what's wrong?" "You're scaring me." I took a deep breath. "Mom, I know about Dad and Linda. I know about John." Her face paled. "Oh, Patricia. Is it true? Is John my half-brother?" Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded. "I'm so sorry, honey. We never wanted you to find out like this." "How long have you known?" "Since John was born. Your father, he made a mistake, but we decided to work through it, for your sake." Anger and hurt boiled over. "For my sake. Do you even know how Dad's treated me all these years? Always comparing me to John, like I'm never good enough. I've tried to talk to him, Patricia, but what, Mom? You just let it happen. Let him favor his secret son over me." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Please, Patricia, you can't tell anyone about this. It would ruin our family." "The company. Ruin our family? Newsflash, Mom. It's already ruined. It has been for years." I stood up, pacing. "And what about John's fraud?" "Yeah, I found out about that too. He's been falsifying reports and stealing ideas. Are we supposed to keep that quiet too?" Mom looked shocked. "Are you sure?" "Dead sure. I've got proof." She buried her face in her hands. "Oh God. David can't know you know. They'll think you're just trying to discredit John out of jealousy." "Jealousy? He's a fraud, Mom. He's hurting the company. Please, Patricia, give me some time. Let me talk to your father. We can figure this out without exposing everything." "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. "You've got 1 week, Mom. After that, I'm going to the board with what I know about John's work. The family stuff. I'll keep quiet about that for now." Mom exhaled in relief, but I wasn't done. "I want you to know something. I'm done trying to impress Dad. I'm done comparing myself to John. From now on, I'm doing this for me." The week Mom asked for flew by, and I was no closer to figuring out my next move. Sitting on the information felt wrong, but exposing John meant risking everything. My career, my family's reputation, and the company's future. I needed backup. I called Susan and Mike, colleagues I trusted implicitly, and arranged to meet them at a cafe far from the office. "Okay, Patricia, what's with the cloak and dagger routine?" Susan asked as we settled into a corner booth. "Yeah, you're starting to freak us out," Mike added. I took a deep breath. "I've uncovered serious fraud at the company. John's been falsifying reports and stealing ideas." Their jaws dropped. Mike leaned in, his voice low. "Are you sure?" That's a heavy accusation. I'm sure. I've got proof, plenty of it. But there's more. Personal stuff I can't get into. Let's just say exposing John could blow up in all our faces. Susan narrowed her eyes. What aren't you telling us, Patricia? Trust me, it's better if you don't know. But I need your help to build an airtight case, one that focuses solely on his professional misconduct. Mike nodded slowly. I'm in. What do you need? For the next week, we worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and triple-checking every detail. The tension at work was unbearable. Dad was on the warpath, suspicious and snappish. Patricia, why aren't the Johnson reports on my desk? He barked one morning. I'm still reviewing them, Dad. There are some discrepancies. Discrepancies? John's team handled those. Are you saying he made a mistake? I bit my tongue. I'm just being thorough. He scoffed. Be thorough faster. We can't all coast on our laurels. John wasn't faring much better. His confidence had evaporated, replaced by furtive glances and venomous glares in my direction. Late one night, I was grabbing coffee in the break room when Linda cornered me. I hope you know what you're doing, Patricia. Some secrets are better left buried. I turned to face her. I'm just doing my job, Linda. Maybe you should have taught John to do the same. Her eyes flashed. You have no idea what you're messing with. Back off while you still can. Is that a threat? She smiled, cold and calculated, before walking away. Later that night, I received an anonymous email. My hands trembled as I opened the attachment. Financial records exposing years of Dad's shady business dealings. This wasn't just about John anymore. The entire company was built on lies. I stared at my screen, feeling sick. This was bigger than I ever imagined. There was no going back now. The truth was coming out, one way or another. The investigation felt like it dragged on for an eternity, though it was only a few weeks. The tension in the office was suffocating. Dad avoided me entirely. John was a nervous wreck. And Linda? If looks could kill, I'd have been 6 feet under. Finally, the board called for a company-wide meeting. My palms were clammy as we filed into the conference room. The head of the board began, his voice steady but grave. After a thorough investigation, we've uncovered significant misconduct. Effective immediately, John William is terminated. A collective gasp rippled through the room. John shot to his feet, face red with fury. This is bull. Sit down, Mr. William, the board member snapped. We're not finished. The room fell silent. In light of the extent of the fraud and the apparent lack of oversight, we are also calling for a vote of no confidence in David Williams' leadership. Dad's face went pale as the words sank in. He turned to me, his eyes a mix of anger and betrayal. I couldn't meet his gaze. Furthermore, the board member continued, we'd like to appoint Patricia William as interim CEO. Her integrity in bringing this matter to our attention, along with her proven track record, makes her the ideal candidate to lead us through this transition. My head spun. CEO? Me? This wasn't what I wanted, was it? The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Dad cleared out his office, John disappeared without a word, and suddenly I was left to pick up the pieces of a shattered company. One evening, as I was working late, again, there was a knock at my office door. I looked up to see Dad standing there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Patricia, can we talk? I nodded, bracing myself. I owe you an apology, he began, his voice thick with emotion. I've made so many mistakes. The affair with Linda, the way I treated you, I was wrong about everything. I wanted to feel something, anger, satisfaction, anything, but all I felt was emptiness. It's too late, Dad. Way too late. I know, he sighed, his shoulders slumping. I just hope someday you can forgive me. As he turned to leave, I called out, Dad, he paused, looking back. I don't hate you. I don't need your approval anymore. The months that followed were grueling but rewarding. We managed to save the company, rebuilding it on a foundation of honesty and hard work. Mom and I grew closer, both of us healing from years of deception. Dad faced multiple lawsuits and lost most of his assets in the divorce. Last I heard, John was struggling to find work, his reputation in tatters. Tonight, I'm meeting Susan and Mike for drinks. As we chat and laugh, I can't help but reflect on the wild journey that brought me here. It wasn't easy, and God knows it wasn't pretty. But for the first time in my life, I feel free, free from the need to prove myself, free from the shadow of my father's expectations. I raise my glass to honesty, hard work, and writing our own stories. Would you have exposed John's fraud, knowing it could destroy your family? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Susan, a 28-year-old graphic designer navigating life with a chronic back condition caused by a car accident 3 years ago. Things were manageable, thanks to my prescribed medication, until my mother-in-law decided to interfere. You're absolutely glowing today, Susan. The new client loved your designs, my best friend Jessica said during lunch. A nurse at the local hospital, Jessica and I have been inseparable since college. Thanks, Jess. I've been feeling great lately. The treatment Dr. Torres prescribed is working wonders. I hesitated, then added, speaking of good news, Thomas and I are expecting. Jessica's eyes widened. Oh my God, that's amazing. Does the dragon lady know yet? Jessica, I scolded, laughing. Jennifer isn't that bad. Well, most of the time. Deep down, I knew Jessica wasn't entirely wrong. Jennifer, my mother-in-law, was a wealthy widow who thrived on control. At Sunday dinner, her reaction was precisely what I feared. Darling, this is wonderful news. Jennifer clasped my hands in hers, her perfectly manicured nails digging in just slightly. You'll need to move in with me during the difficult months. Thomas, sweetheart, you're always so busy with work. I can take care of her properly. I noticed Diana, my sister-in-law, flinch at Jennifer's words. She and her husband Charles rarely spoke up. Diana caught my eye and quickly looked away. Actually, Mom, we're planning to handle things ourselves, I said, trying to sound firm. Nonsense. With your condition, you'll need experienced guidance. The way she emphasized condition made my skin crawl. At my next checkup, Dr. Torres emphasized the importance of my medication. Susan, your health comes first. We'll adjust the dosage for the baby, but stopping it completely isn't safe. Can you explain that to my mother-in-law? I asked, half joking. She insists medications are harmful during pregnancy. Let me be clear, Dr. Torres said, his tone serious. Ignoring this could have severe consequences. That evening, Thomas tried to mediate. Mom means well, honey. She just wants to help. Thomas, don't you see? Something feels off. How do you notice how Charles and Diana barely speak when she's around? They're just private people, he said with a shrug. Mom's been amazing since Dad died. Running charities, helping at church. I couldn't shake my unease, especially after Jennifer began setting up a nursery in her house without consulting me. Susan's so blessed to have me, she announced at her social gathering, as if I wasn't standing right there. The suffocation began the moment I moved into her home. Jennifer hovered constantly. No coffee, no stress, no autonomy. She even threw out all my food, replacing it with a better diet. One morning, I reached for my medication, only to find the drawer empty. Looking for something, Jennifer stood in the doorway, her smile tight. My medication. Where is it? I disposed of those harmful pills. Natural remedies are better for my grandchild. They're prescribed. I need them for my back pain. Back pain makes better mothers, she said dismissively, dragging me downstairs despite my protests. The pain was excruciating. At my next checkup, Dr. Torres frowned. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. Where's your medication? I can't find it, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. Jessica visited after her shift, gasping when she saw me struggle to stand. What's that bruise on your arm? Jennifer helps me up the stairs. She's just very hands-on. This isn't help, Susan. This is abuse, and you should hear what she's been saying at church. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? She's telling everyone you're mentally unstable, that you're unfit to be a mother. Susan, Mrs. Henderson from the hospital board said Jennifer's been asking about postpartum depression facilities. The room spun. She's? What? Diana's voice interrupted from the doorway. I should have told you sooner. She hesitated, tears brimming. When I was pregnant, I lost the baby because of her. That night, I overheard Jennifer on the phone. I'm very worried about Susan's mental state. She refuses to eat properly, acts erratically. Thomas needs to consider alternative care arrangements after the baby is born. I tried calling Thomas, but Jennifer had confiscated my phone. Your phone activities agitate you, dear, she'd say, locking it away. The next morning, I could barely walk. Jennifer's eyes sparkled with satisfaction, feeling under the weather. Perhaps if you followed my guidance better. Staring at my reflection, bruised, pale, and shaking, I realized this wasn't just about control. Jennifer was dangerous, and I was trapped with no medication, no contact with the outside world, and growing fear for my baby's safety. That's when I noticed the empty prescription bottles in her bathroom trash. My hands trembled as I carefully picked up the destroyed pill bottles. They were mine. Looking for something, Charles's voice startled me. He stood in the doorway, his face grim. "I should have warned you sooner," he said. "She did the same thing to Diana." "What happened to Diana?" I whispered, dreading his answer. "She was high risk, needed medication to manage her pregnancy. Mom insisted on natural motherhood, building strength through pain. Diana lost the baby at 6 months. The doctor said it was from untreated complications." My stomach churned. "Why didn't you stop her? She controls everything, our inheritances, the family business. But I can't stand by and watch this happen again." Charles hesitated before leaning closer. "Check behind the loose panel in her medicine cabinet." Following his lead, I pried open the hidden compartment and found dozens of prescription bottles. Some were mine. Others had different names. "She takes them herself," Charles whispered. "Has for years. It started after she put Grandma in that awful nursing home. There was an investigation back then, but she buried it." From that moment, Jessica and I documented everything. We photographed the bruises, recorded conversations, and saved texts where Jennifer told Thomas I was too unstable to talk. Jessica uncovered even more. "Remember Mrs. Peterson?" she asked one day. "Her daughter works at the bank. Jennifer's been forging Thomas's signatures and transferring company funds into her accounts." When Thomas finally came home for a weekend, I confronted him. I was exhausted, barely able to stand, but I laid out everything: the empty bottles, the bruises, the financial records. "She stole my medication, Thomas. She's been taking it herself." "That's ridiculous," Jennifer snapped, appearing in the doorway. "She's having mental episodes. Ask anyone at church." "Like how you asked about postpartum facilities?" I shot back. "Like how you spread rumors about me being unfit to be a mother." "I was protecting my grandchild," she hissed. "Like you protected Diana's baby?" The color drained from Jennifer's face. "What is she talking about, Mom?" Thomas demanded. Before Jennifer could respond, a wave of pain hit me. It was so intense I collapsed, the last thing I heard being Jessica shouting for someone to call 911. When I woke up in the hospital, Dr. Torres was livid. "Severe medical neglect, malnutrition, untreated chronic pain," he said. "Susan, I've had to report this." "She's been stealing my medication," I whispered, barely able to speak. "I know, blood tests confirmed it. Social services is involved now." Thomas sat by my bedside, his face pale. "The investigators found records," he said quietly. "Complaints about Mom, Grandma's caregivers, the nursing home, even her old housekeeper. All buried with money and threats. There are even suspicious withdrawals after Dad's accident." Diana came in later, holding a thick folder. "The police found these in her house. Records of forged prescriptions, financial fraud, even a diary outlining how she planned to get custody of your baby." Dr. Torres returned with another update. "Jennifer is being questioned by police. They found prescriptions from 12 different doctors in her home. But right now, our focus is getting you and the baby healthy." Leaving Jennifer's house felt like stepping into a new world. Thomas made sure we moved far away, installing security cameras and changing all the locks. One morning, Jessica showed me her phone over coffee in our new kitchen. "Did you see the church newsletter? Jennifer's been removed from all committees after Charles and Diana testified. The congregation is in shock. The dominoes were falling fast." Jennifer's perfect facade shattered completely when Mrs. Henderson caught her stealing prescriptions from the senior center's medicine cabinet. The security footage was damning. Jennifer was caught on camera methodically rifling through the senior center's medical storage room during what was supposed to be a charity visit. The nerve of that woman, Mrs. Henderson spat during the emergency board meeting. Her voice shook with rage. All these years preaching about charity while stealing from elderly residents. She even took Mrs. Johnson's heart medication last month. Jennifer's downfall didn't stop there. Former housekeepers began coming forward, their voices no longer silenced by her threats. Maria, who worked for Jennifer for over a decade, filed the first lawsuit, inspiring others to share their horror stories. She locked me in the basement when I threatened to report her for stealing Mr. Mitchell's pain medication before he died. Maria testified, her hands trembling as she described the 12-hour ordeal. She said no one would believe a housekeeper over her. Jennifer's empire of lies and manipulation crumbled under the weight of her victims' voices. The birth of my daughter, Olivia Rose Mitchell, was a moment of pure joy, untainted by Jennifer's presence. She was healthy, perfect, and most importantly, free from her grandmother's control. The delivery room was filled with love and support, everything my pregnancy should have been from the start. Thomas held Olivia one evening as we sat in our new peaceful home. "Mrs. Wallace from the country club called," he said. "The IRS is investigating Mom's charity foundation. She's been writing off personal expenses as donations. They've uncovered millions in tax fraud." Not long after, our home security system pinged during Olivia's nap. Checking the camera, I saw Jennifer sobbing at our door. Her designer makeup ran down her face, and her once perfect appearance was disheveled. "Please, I'm sorry," she begged, her voice cracking. "I need help. Everyone's abandoned me, the club, the church. I'm facing jail time. I'm your mother, Thomas. You can't let them do this to me." Thomas's voice was steady as he answered through the intercom. "No, you're not. Mothers don't torture their children or try to kill their grandchildren. Goodbye, Jennifer." A week later, we watched her luxury car get repossessed. Her once loyal social circle vanished. The woman who had commanded attention at every social gathering now couldn't even get a table at the local diner. 10 years. Jessica read from the news article one morning. She got 10 years for prescription fraud, elder abuse, and tax evasion. Most of her assets are going to victim compensation. The judge's harsh sentence reflected the severity of her crimes, especially after hearing of the senior center thefts. Diana and Charles used their share of the compensation to open a support center for survivors of family abuse, turning their pain into purpose. Thomas rebuilt the family business with integrity, implementing strict financial controls and transparent practices. Every so often, Jennifer sent us letters from prison. They were filled with tear-stained promises of change and requests to meet Olivia. I never opened them. "Some toxins don't deserve a second chance to poison you," I said as I tore up the latest letter. "Olivia deserves better than her manipulation." Olivia is in kindergarten now, bright, happy, and surrounded by real love. My back still aches occasionally, a painful reminder of those dark months, but I have proper medication, a supportive family, and peace. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty about Jennifer dying alone in prison after her stroke last month. I don't. "Mommy, tell me a story." Olivia calls from her bedroom, her voice full of joy. I smile as I head upstairs. My story isn't about forgiveness or reconciliation. It's about survival, justice, and protecting your children from toxic people, even when they share your blood. Hey everyone, I'm Linda. I'm 24, and today I'm going to tell you how my dream of becoming a pediatrician nearly crumbled, all because of the one person who promised to support me forever. Have you thought about maybe taking a break from school? Matthew's question hung in the air over dinner. I froze, my fork suspended mid-air, instantly recognizing that manipulative tone he developed lately. "We've discussed this before," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "I'm not taking a break when I'm doing so well." It felt like deja vu, taking me back 2 years to the night we first met at my friend's gallery opening. He was everything I thought I wanted, charming, successful, and he seemed genuinely supportive of my ambitions. We got married within 6 months. "Listen, babe, I'm just saying, we're not getting any younger. Don't you want to start our family?" I was putting away my textbooks when my phone buzzed. It was Margaret. "Girl, did you see the time? Rounds in 20 minutes. I panicked. "Matthew, did you mess with my alarm again?" He shrugged nonchalantly. "It keeps me up at night." "That's the 3rd time this week," Margaret muttered when I arrived, rushing to the hospital. "Something's off, Linda." I pushed it out of my mind and threw myself into my pediatric rotation. Working with kids reminded me why I fought so hard to be here. "That was fantastic work with the Thompson kid," Dr. Chen said, catching me after rounds. "You have a natural gift. Ever thought of specializing in pediatrics?" "I'd love that," I beamed. "I'd be honored if you could mentor me." "Absolutely," she smiled. You've got potential not many show. Later that evening, Matthew seemed unusually interested in my phone. Who's this Dr. Chen you're always texting? He asked, casually. She's my mentor. But wait, how do you know I'm texting her? I saw the notification, he said. I frowned. My phone was in my bag across the room. You've been checking my phone. Can you blame me? His voice rose. You're always at the hospital or studying. How do I know what you're really up to? I'm doing what I've always done, Matthew, pursuing my dream of becoming a doctor. You used to support that. That was before I realized how much it would take you away from us, he snapped, his eyes darkening. From our future family. Later, in our shared office, I noticed my laptop was open. I always closed it. Checking the browser history, I found searches I never made. He had been monitoring everything. The next day, at the pediatric ward, a tiny voice interrupted my thoughts. Dr. Mitchell, look what I made for you. Little Emma held up a crayon drawing. It's beautiful, sweetie. Is that us? Yeah. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. We need to talk. Matthew came by the study group asking weird questions about Dr. Chen. This isn't normal. I stared at the message, my hands trembling. The sweet man who swept me off my feet 2 years ago was disappearing, replaced by someone I barely recognized. I came home to find shredded study materials scattered across the floor. My laptop screen was shattered, the hard drive ripped out. What happened here? I asked, my voice shaking. Oh, those old papers. Matthew's tone was infuriatingly casual. I was cleaning up. They looked like trash. Those were my annotated study guides. My finals are next week, and my laptop. Maybe if you put as much effort into us as you do into your books, things wouldn't be falling apart, he snapped. Desperate, I called Margaret in tears. I don't know what to do. Finals are next week. Get over here now, she insisted. I've got your cloud backup from our last study session. But Linda, something's seriously wrong. As I grabbed my coat, Matthew's brother, Andrew, blocked my way. Listen, princess, my brother works hard to give you this life. Know your place and drop this doctor fantasy. Get out of my way, Andrew, or you'll regret it. At Margaret's place, things went from bad to worse. Your joint account is empty, she showed me, holding up her phone. That's impossible, I stammered. My student loan refund was just deposited. Together, we scrolled through months of withdrawals I hadn't made. My hands shook. The next day, Dr. Chen found me crying in the conference room. Here, she said softly, handing me a card. This is a number for a women's resource center. And Linda, this isn't your fault. He was so different when we met, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Take this, she pressed a small notebook into my hands. Document everything, times, dates, witnesses. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Is this Linda? I'm Rachel, Matthew's ex-girlfriend. My heart skipped a beat. How did she get my number? Margaret found me, Rachel explained. Listen carefully. Matthew did the same thing to me 3 years ago when I was in law school. What do you mean? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. He destroyed everything, my notes, my laptop, even my relationships. He kept saying a wife shouldn't have a career. I lost my scholarship because of him. Why are you telling me this now? Because I wish someone had warned me. Check the storage unit on 5th Street, Unit 3177. You'll find proof of what he's really been doing with your money. That night, I started a secret video diary on a new phone Margaret got for me. Day 1 of documentation. Found my study materials destroyed. Time 7:30 p.m. Witness, Margaret Parker. As I was recording, I heard the front door key turn. Quickly, I hid the phone under a pile of clothes. Matthew walked in, eyes cold and unfeeling. Still upset about those papers, he sneered. A real wife would be more concerned about why her husband had to destroy them in the first place. I forced a smile, keeping my voice calm. You're right, Matthew, I'm sorry. He gave me a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. See, was that so hard? Now let's talk about quitting school. I nodded along, Rachel's warning echoing in my mind. One way or another, I was going to find out what was in that storage unit. The next day, I made my way to the storage facility on 5th Street. Unit 3177 was packed with boxes of real estate documents. My hands trembled as I flipped through files, falsified loan applications, forged signatures, illegal property transfers. I've been trying to track these down for months, a voice behind me said, making me jump. I turned to see a man in a suit. I'm Michael Thompson, Matthew's business partner. Those files prove he and his brother Andrew have been running a massive fraud scheme. How long have you known? I asked, my heart racing. Long enough to build a case, but I need your help, he said, his voice urgent. The FBI is interested, but they need more evidence. You can get it. I returned home, determined to act like everything was normal. Maybe you're right about medical school, I told Matthew, feigning defeat. Finally seeing sense, he said, a smug grin spreading across his face. I knew you'd come around. That night, I found my stethoscope snapped in half on the bed. Consider it motivation to quit, Matthew smirked. I dialed Rachel. He's escalating, I whispered. That's how it started with me, she said. He isolated me, destroyed everything I cared about. Don't let him win. Margaret and I began moving my important documents to her place, piece by piece. My birth certificate, social security card, passport. We were being careful, but Matthew was becoming more suspicious. One evening, he caught me packing up my medical books. What's this? Planning to run? He demanded, eyes blazing. No, I was just. He slammed his hand against the wall beside my head. You ungrateful bitch, after everything I've done for you. Terrified, I fled to Dr. Chen's office, bruises forming on my arm where he had grabbed me. We're getting you a restraining order right now, she said, taking photos of the bruises. I know a judge who can expedite it. He has Andrew watching the house, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Stay with me tonight, Dr. Chen insisted. Tomorrow, we'll move you somewhere safe. Michael called with an update. The FBI is very interested in these documents, but you need to be careful. Matthew's getting desperate. With Margaret's help, I moved the last of my belongings while Matthew was at work. My cousin's place is off the grid, she reassured me. He'll never find you there. As I packed, I found a letter from my medical school. Final exam rescheduling approved due to domestic violence documentation. My phone buzzed. It was Michael. Everything's ready. The feds move tomorrow. I took one last look at the house I once thought would be my forever home. Matthew's latest threat echoed in my mind. You'll never be a doctor. You're nothing without me. Watch me, I thought, closing the door behind me. After finishing my final exam, I hugged Dr. Chen tightly. I can't thank you enough, I said, my voice filled with gratitude. Her study materials had been a lifesaver. You earned this, Linda. Every single point, she smiled. Minutes later, my phone buzzed with breaking news. Local real estate mogul arrested in massive fraud scheme. Matthew's mugshot filled the screen. It's over, Michael texted. FBI just raided the office. Andrew tried throwing Matthew under the bus, offered to testify against him. What happened? I asked. Andrew thought he could save himself, but he ended up implicating himself even more. They're both going down. The next call was from Rachel. Linda, I testified about everything, the abuse, the sabotage, the financial manipulation. 3 other women came forward too. Weeks later, Margaret read the sentencing report aloud. 15 years for Matthew, fraud, tax evasion, and financial abuse. Andrew got 8 years. Both had their real estate licenses permanently revoked. The feds seized everything: houses, cars, bank accounts. Standing in my graduation gown, I could hardly believe it. Top of my class, with a residency at Boston Children's Hospital waiting for me. This is for you, Rachel said, handing me an envelope. Inside was her law school acceptance letter. I'm going back. You inspired me. Dr. Chen approached, surrounded by a group of students. Linda, meet our first support group for students facing domestic challenges. Would you share your story? Of course, I replied. Looking at their faces, I saw my past self, scared but determined. Michael had transformed the real estate business, making it entirely legitimate. Your case helped us clean house completely, he told me one day. Then a letter arrived at the hospital with a prison return address. Matthew's handwriting was unmistakable. My dear Linda, I'm so sorry for everything. I dropped it in the shredder without reading further. Down the hall, my pediatric patients were waiting. Dr. Mitchell, guess what? Little Emma, now cancer-free, ran up to me. I got accepted to pre-med. That's amazing. I hugged her, remembering the drawing she had given me years ago. Later, Dr. Chen appeared in my office doorway, ready for the domestic violence awareness panel. Always, I replied, grabbing my white coat, the one with Dr. Linda Mitchell, pediatric oncology, embroidered on it. I looked at my reflection and saw no trace of the frightened woman I'd once been. Matthew tried to bury me, not realizing I was a seed. Now I had bloomed, helping others grow through their own storms while he rotted in a cell of his own making. My new office overlooked the hospital garden, where I counseled students dealing with toxic relationships. Your abuser's biggest fear, I always told them, isn't that you'll leave, it's that you'll thrive without them. So what would you do if your toxic partner tried sending you an apology letter from prison? Would you read it for closure, or would you shred it without a second thought, like I did? Share your thoughts in the comments below.